What's wrong with having a credit card if you pay the balance every month?
Most people don't.
Most people don't.
That's the great lie. 78% of people don't.
No way.
And they all talk about how everybody talks about this theoretical discipline that they just freaking don't have. And so,
wait, 78% roll the balance over month to month.
Yeah. Just like 97% of the people don't pay a 30-year mortgage like a 15 so that it pays off in 15 because they promised themselves they would. We're going to take out a 30 just in case we need to let up, but we're going to pay it like a 15. 97% do not systematically prepay. And that's Federal Reserve statistics. I didn't make those numbers up. And so it's just this idea that we trust ourselves with this discipline that's really just simply not there. And so why? What's the purpose? What are you getting? Okay, if you're going to pay your credit card off every month, and you're really going to do that, then a debit card will work. Because there's money to pay the credit card off, and you just use that money through your debit card. It's the exact same freaking thing. I mean, it's the exact same thing.
Why don't people do that?
Because they've been taught that they can't live without this, and that if you don't get airline miles, then if you don't get 1% back on your Discover card, which this one tickles me. I see people with a master's degree in finance. I got 1% back on my Discover card. So you're going to run $100,000 through your Discover card to get $1,000 back. On what planet does that build wealth? I mean, and under what math? I mean, did you get out of the 6th grade where you trade $100K for $1K and you call this a wealth building mechanism? That's just asinine, but this is supposedly sophisticated people will make this argument at me, and they have for 30 years. So I've got a long career. So is your argument that they're just too dangerous? You just there's no point. There's no point. It's not even that it's that dangerous. If you are paying it off every month, it's not going to bankrupt you. The other thing is this, and again, we're dealing with Joe and Susie consumer.
Right.
Okay? I'm not dealing with somebody with a master's in finance usually. We're dealing with, folks making $80,000 and, he's a cop, she's a teacher. Okay. And so, what MIT's study shows us is that when you swipe plastic, you spend 12 to 18% more than if you lay down actual cash, because cash, when you see Benjamin looking at you, activates the pain centers of the brain. And when you swipe it and go one further, just take your Apple phone and just use your wallet, and you never even see plastic. You just moved your phone around like you just returned an email or a text. And now you're walking out of Home Depot with another tool, right? And that's even less friction. And less friction is your website, my website, where they just push a button, or Amazon, push a button, and the recognition in your brain that you're actually spending money goes down precipitously as you go along.
Why they have chips in a casino. Exactly.
Exactly. They would never. And it's why they take taxes out of our check. If you had a guy standing at the end of your office every Friday named Matthew, the tax collector from the Bible, and you had to hand him your tax money out of your check, there'd be a revolution in America, because people would recognize emotionally with the pain centers of their brain what they're actually paying in taxes. It's the same thing here. It's just friction in marketing, we call it. You call it, I call it on our websites. And we want to lower friction. We want to make it easy for the customer to buy where they don't feel any pain and they buy more. It's a simple arrangement. But if you have to actually lay down $100 bills, and Rachel, my daughter, teaches with us, and she brought up the point, which I had never thought of, that when you hand someone a piece of plastic at the store, they hand you the groceries or the shirt back with the plastic. When you hand them money, they just hand you the shirt. That's more like a trade at the old trading post.
Yeah.
I'm trading you this for that.
Yeah.
With plastic, I get the plastic back visually and the item. And I'm no recognition. We intellectually grasp it, but I'm talking about emotional, psychological recognition that actual transaction has just occurred, and so we spend more. That's what it comes down to, and so we're spending more.
A big picture, there's a weird incentive here, because the forces of totalitarianism want to get rid of cash, of course, because cash cannot be controlled in the way that digital currency can be controlled. Right. All of our cash comes through the banks. The government gets us cash through banks. But banks have a massive incentive to get rid of cash also, because they're profiting from credit cards.
Very labor intensive to screw with the cash.
Well, exactly. And dirty, by the way.
Yeah.
So banks have, once again, every incentive to eliminate the use of cash in the United States.
Well, and again, it's we go how far we want to go on how evil the intent is from the bottom up and how organized the evil is. I don't know about.
I'm just saying, but the incentives are aligned.
The incentives are there. But what I'm saying is that I could go either way. I can go real deep into that personally, or I can say, they're just not real good at it. But they are collecting our data. And when you're operating cash, you're off the grid.
Well, exactly.
So it's one more place
I hadn't thought of that.
I can tell you exactly what is happening with Joe and Susie. And so it's gone so far as to the collections departments with some of the large credit card companies are so scummy. They're very good at what they do. But if an area code comes in and someone's returning a call to a collector from the South, the person's calling from the South, they'll put someone on with a New York accent because that's abrasive to someone with the South, and you want to create an abrasive situation with a collector. If they're calling into customer service, they'll match them up with an accent that's pleasant to them, and so on.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, they're very good at what they. But
indebted Southerners get Yankee collectors,
and vice versa. Because you want to piss a Yankee off, bring a passive-aggressive Southerner in, I mean, it's like, right? So, now, honey, you're right. I mean, that's not going to go well. So that's not good for a New Yorker. And so they're very, very good at what they do, and they collect data, and they use the data to sell us more. And I mean, Google's doing that. We know that. We know Apple's doing that. It's not rocket surgery. We know this is going on. But so cash gets you off the grid. Cash represents freedom. So it is antithesis for totalitarianism. The ability
do people use cash? I feel like people don't use cash anymore.
Not as much. Not as much. It's way down. It's way down. One of the last places I gave up using cash was at the pump, pumping gas. Because I used to always walk in and pay cash. I had cash for my gas. I had cash for our groceries. We still pay cash for our groceries at the Ramseys. Sharon still carries an envelope with cash in it in our purse it says groceries on it. And to this day, it's how we started our stuff years ago. It's what we teach. But I'm too lazy to walk into the stupid gas station and pay the bill now. But here's the thing. Again, one more time, think about it. When gas went 20 years ago, gas moves up to $5 for 10 minutes. If you had to walk in the store and you're paying cash, all of a sudden the cost of gasoline is a much more passionate political issue,
of course,
than when we're just sticking a card in and crap, I can't believe it was $100, and you walk off and you'll think anything about it. But if you walk to the store from the pump and you put down, by the time you get back to the truck, you're pissed.
Oh, for sure.
And so nowadays when gas goes up, it's kind of like, oh, look, gas went up, or did it? I'm not sure. How much was it under Trump? How much is it under Biden? And people, it doesn't register because the pain centers aren't activated. And now it becomes a political thing because it's not, the cost of that is not waking you up. So the cost of eggs, if you were paying cash in the grocery store in this last routine, the eggs were the thing, remember?
Yeah.
Not long ago. We were all done to die because eggs were too expensive. So the Biden inflation, right? So, but if you were paying cash for it, there'd have been egg wars. I mean, it's like, so it's
so they're lulling us to sleep.
It's very interesting. Yeah, we're lazy.
So how much debt is the average American carrying on credit cards?
37,000.
37,000 per?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the current averages. I mean, depending on who you read and who you believe. We haven't done that research at Ramsey, but we've looked it up. I mean,
$37,000?
Yes.
At what interest rate?
I love 18 to 28 is the range on cards.
Well, that's just crazy town.
Yeah.
And if you had $37,000 in credit card debt, wouldn't you be scared?
They are. And so when the cost of bread goes up and supply chain screws with their grocery basket cost, it's a very real fear.
Then why is not a single I can't get past this. Of all the villains in public life, well, you've been attacked, I've noticed. And a lot of virtuous people have been attacked. I never hear the credit card companies attacked by anyone ever. Mm-hmm. But they seem like one of the main causes of misery for Americans.
Yeah. We have, and we've attacked them and for 30 years, but mainly attacking the stuff like we're talking about right here is present people with ideas and they go, oh, I'm getting screwed. I'm going to stop this. And they make a change and they cut up their cards. We call it plastic surgery, right? They chop them up, they get out of debt, and they'll never go back once they've had that emotional
But there
experience.
is a big, I mean, all debt is obviously, in my opinion, bad. And one of the reasons I'm so grateful for your role in our society, reminding people of that. But not all debt is the same. If I'm paying 4% on a mortgage, that's very different from paying 25% on a credit card.
Exactly. Sure.
I mean, that's just insane that people pay.
Well, and you've got one thing that's going up in value, and the other is a steak you ate last night. It's pretty much gone. Yeah. So
I don't understand. So the states, the state of New York, and the federal government, spent decades, a century, putting mafia figures in prison for loan sharking. Loan sharking, and that was lending money at high interest rates because it was unfair. It was considered, it was a crime. I think it still is a crime. How is it not a crime when the credit card companies do it?
I don't know. I'm a free market guy. I would rather punish them by taking their customers than by providing regulation.
I get it. I'm not even calling for regulation, but I'm saying that it's regulated when the Genovese family does it, but not when Citibank does it. So how does that work?
Yeah, and how does payday lending still open at 800% interest?
800?
Yeah, 800% interest. And these are poor people they're leaning on. So this is particularly bad.
It's funny because someone like AOC, obviously protector of black people and the urban poor, like I haven't heard her say one word. I mean, it seems like everybody is kind of colluding against lower income people.
Yeah, and it's biblically unsound. I mean, it's a bad idea.
What does that mean?
If you read in the scripture, you don't want to be on the list of the person who oppresses the poor, the orphan, or the widow. That's not a good list to be on.
Yes.
If you have any idea that there might be a God.
Yes.
Because the things that happens to the people that oppress the poor, the orphan, and the widow are not good. You're supposed to take care of the poor and take care of the widow and take care of the orphan, and it's quite the opposite. And we don't see that kind of sanctified capitalism as much as we should.
I don't see really any of it.
It's out there. There's lots of good companies that do take care of their team. They take care of their employees. They take care of their customers. The customer comes in and they go, this lady just is, her husband just passed away. She's got little kids and she can't eat, and they'll take care of them. I mean, companies do that everywhere. Americans are unbelievably generous.
Yes,
the
they
most generous
are.
Culture in the history of the world. And that comes through small business. It comes through even big business sometimes.
Americans are the best. It's their institutions are rotten. Mm-hmm. And it does seem like maybe that's the problem. If you could just reform some of the big institutions, it would be a much happier country with fewer oppressed people. But 800% on a payday loan.
You write a $250 check for 2 weeks, advance on your paycheck coming in, and they hand you $200. And so it's a $50 charge. It's loan sharking rates. And that's not that horrible, so to speak, because if that's all there is. But if you renew that all the way through 1 year, it's 864%. And so that's the typical payday lender. Some states have outlawed payday lenders completely. Others are quote unquote regulating them. But those people are feeding on the poor. Because I got to promise you, the wealthy people are not going in there and doing a $200 to $250 transaction. It's not. They're not. Middle class people aren't even. And so it's the same thing as the rent. They're in the same rent to own, title pawning. Same end of town.
What
where
is?
You see these
Can you explain rent to own?
Rent to own is you take a $1,000 washer and dryer, and you pay for it 6 or 8 times monthly because you're renting it. And then they let you own it at the end of it. By the time it's almost worn out. But you could have taken your monthly and gone to a garage sale and bought a good used set. Yeah. And had zero debt, zero payments. But again, no one that's middle class or upper class falls for that junk. You don't see those things in the rich end of town.
No, you don't.
You see them when you go into the other side of town, the other side of the tracks.
I mean, credit cards are, I think, so embarrassing. It's almost like a drug habit. Nobody wants to talk about credit card debt. If the average American in who has a credit card is $37,000 in debt at over 20% interest. I mean, that's the craziest thing I've heard this week.
And that includes you and me, which have zero. And we're talking an average.
Yeah, I mean, I've had
someone else has more in order to get to that average if you and I have zero, right?
Yeah, I'm not good at math, and I'm not good at business. I'm not good at managing money. I've definitely had money problems, big time money problems, but I've never had credit card debt because even I, low IQ with numbers guy, could understand like 20% interest is a lot more than 6% interest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want that. So, what happens to a person who's $37,000 in debt who makes $60,000 a year in credit card debt?
Too many negative things to count, but number one cause of divorce in North America today: money fights, money stress.
Seriously?
Number one things people fight about in their marriage, by far. So we've got a socioeconomic impact. If you lose hope because you feel like a rat in a wheel, and it's I owe, so off to work I go. Thank God it's Friday. Oh God, it's Monday. And I just look up 40 years later and I retire broke because I put nothing in my 401k because it's all gone out in payments every month. All the money comes in, all the money goes out. Then you have to retire and say, gosh, I hope the government, which is well known for its ability to handle money, will take care of me. And now we're tearing Social Security, which even according to the socialists that put it in place, called it a supplement.
Right.
Not a retirement plan. It's not a retirement plan. It's not designed to eat. I mean, if you try to retire on Social Security, you're eating Alpo. I mean, it's rough. And so you retire broke. You have a higher likelihood of divorce. Hypertension goes up. Anxiety goes up. So there's medical bills go up as a result because it's a constant stress in your life over a long period of time. And so we've had people, of course, over the 30 years of doing what we're doing, they often say, wow, when I got out of debt, I paid off my car, when I got rid of MasterCard, when I got rid of the student loan that had been around so long, I thought it was a pet. When I, even when I had this week, I had a lady, 34 years old, paid off her house and zero debt, 34 years old, and $600,000 already in her 401k at 34 years old. I said, so how does that feel? She says, I feel like I sat down 300 pounds. And I walked away from it. She said, there's this release physically. She said, my shoulders feel different. And so you cannot completely go, this is only a math thing, because it's integrated into our lives.
That's right.
And, so, yeah, we're starting to see now the implications of it, on a society as a whole. Medical bills, again, divorce rate. And it's not the only sole cause of all those things,
of course,
but it's certainly a contributor. And sometimes it works in reverse. Sometimes the medical causes the problem, the financial problem, right? So sometimes it's the other way. Sometimes the marriage situation causes the financial problem. So there's not all correlation and causation directly, but there's enough interaction with that there's no reason to say, I'm going to live my whole life hopeless, working in a job I hate, just to pay the truck payment because somebody at a stoplight might go thumbs up, they like my truck, and I'm trying to impress other people that I don't even know with money I don't have. And it's a sickening thing. It really is. It's consumerism gone amok. But the good news is people can decide we're going to change, and they turn the corner, and man, it's beautiful when they do.